you want kind of a colorful psychedelic horror that feels like what happens when you take too much melatonin, I also just think that Benoit Blanc is Hercule Poirot, just in a different font. It's also something that is relatively in vogue and is the type of book that feels like you could have a conversation with your dad about it. Well, if there is... Hey Mariah, it's Julia the ex-English major. For today, I'm going to give you a list of recommendations for books based on if you enjoy a specific movie or TV show. I feel like there's so many books out there that sometimes it's difficult to find one that you would enjoy. So I am going to kind of put together just a brief little video of books that remind me in some way of a popular movie or TV show. Now, just because a book is on this list does not mean that it was my personal favorite, but all of these are books that I have read that reminded me in some way of an aspect of a popular movie or a popular TV show. So the first one that I have here is a TV show called Yellowstone. Yellowstone is a show that I did not really watch myself, but my roommate was obsessed with it. And so I have seen quite a bit of the TV show simply through osmosis by living with a friend who absolutely loved that show. For a book recommendation for Yellowstone, I have Lonesome Dove. The reason that I am going to recommend Lonesome Dove if you enjoyed Yellowstone is it is just a solid Western, and it's also something that is relatively in vogue and is the type of book that feels like you could have a conversation with your dad about it. Just like Yellowstone, you know, maybe there are some aspects that you wouldn't necessarily bring up at a dinner table. It's the kind of thing that both you and your dad would like, and that both you and your dad could have some talking points too. So if you liked Yellowstone, then I would recommend Lonesome Dove. The next movie that I have here is Sinners. And so I have two separate book recommendations for you for Sinners. Midnight Mass is another TV show I would recommend if you liked Sinners. Highly would recommend Midnight Mass as a TV show. But for book recommendations for someone who liked Sinners, the first one that I have here is Buffalo Hunter Hunter. This is the book that, if the part that drew you to Sinners is why am I crying at this gory vampire story, that exactly the same kind of vibes. So if you are interested in kind of the gory story that's going to make you cry, that is this. It's just a vampire book with a twist, and would highly, highly, highly recommend Buffalo Hunter Hunter. If you want a story that feels like that one scene where everyone is dancing around to the music and it's kind of just that one big, honestly, party. Then I would recommend Transatlantic. Each of the chapters feels like a separate short story happening on either side of either America or Ireland. And specifically, I believe it's the second chapter, really feels like that scene. The second chapter is where we have Frederick Douglass coming to Ireland, and it is showing the parallels between the treatment of Black Americans as well as the treatment of white Irishmen by their oppressors. And so really, really interesting. And this book just, it is a collection of stories happening on either side of the Atlantic Ocean, but specifically the second chapter, or the Frederick Douglass chapter. I believe it's the second one, but specifically the Frederick Douglass chapter really, really, really reminded me of Sinners. And so if that is something that interests you, I would definitely recommend giving this book a try. I thought it was really, really interesting and just a really fun kind of experimental book. Okay, the next TV show that I have for you is a recommendation if you are someone who liked Succession. So if Succession was your jam, then I would highly recommend Gifted and Talented by Olivia Blake. This book is absolutely all of the rich people drama, white people problems, kind of the family dynamic, tearing at each other's throats, trying to get kind of control of a vast amount of wealth. Highly would recommend if you're interested in Succession and that kind of the at each other's throats family drama aspect is what drew you to it. Try out Gifted and Talented.
Because I love it. I f***ing love it!
The next recommendation that I have for you, there are 3 of them. If you liked Yellowjackets, if that is the TV show that you were really, really interested in, then I have 3 books that you might want to check out for one reason or another. The first one that I have is Bunny. If the thing that drew you to Yellowjackets is kind of that culty, feminine, weird vibes, if that is kind of the on the borderline of horror, strange girls, then I would recommend Bunny. Bunny was not my favorite book personally. However, it very much felt in line with Yellowjackets and was giving me kind of that weird feeling of girls keeping secrets, kind of strange borderline cult. Definitely, if that was the aspect of that show that you enjoyed, would recommend giving Bunny a try. Next, if you are interested in kind of more of the cannibalism and sapphic undertones or straight up overtones in Yellowjackets, I would recommend The Starving Saints. This book I absolutely loved. I've talked about it quite a bit on this channel, and it is absolutely kind of tapping into the kind of the gross fever dream cannibalism from Yellowjackets. This is going to be a great one for you, especially if that's kind of what drew you into the show. If just kind of women doing what they need to do to survive is the reason that you enjoyed Yellowjackets, then I would recommend The Natural Way of Things. Again, this is a story that was not my personal favorite, but it is absolutely a survival story of women trapped in a situation and kind of the ways that they cope with their scenario, as well as them desperately doing whatever they can to cope. If that's kind of what drew you into the show and that's the dynamic that you want to explore, then The Natural Way of Things is going to be the book for you because it deals with those same topics. The next TV show that I have is a popular TV show that was not my favorite, and it is a book that is Normal People. If Normal People is a type of show that you are very, very interested in, I would recommend, honestly, the book by Sally Rooney or anything that's Sally Rooney. But if you are trying to branch out a little bit, then the book recommendation that I have for you is Heart the Lover. I absolutely ate this book up, and this book is completely just a sad story about people who are in love with each other, who everything would be fixed with one conversation, but they're just avoiding that conversation. So if that is kind of the dynamic that you like in your media and you are looking for a sad book to kind of get you through after you have finished Normal People, then I would recommend Heart the Lover. I absolutely raved about this book, and if that's kind of, if you're looking for something that taps into the exact same thing that the show Normal People kind of gave you, that melancholy and the shouting at people to just finally have a conversation and it would solve their problems, then I would definitely recommend Heart the Lover. Okay, jumping back to movies, this one is a bit of an older movie. It's not something that came out recently like some of these shows have been, or some of these other movies. But if you are looking for a book that reminds you of The Truman Show, then I would recommend Time Out of Joint by Philip K. Dick.
What the hell are you talking about? Who are you talking to?
There are a lot of really similar parallels to The Truman Show with this book, and it is definitely kind of a book where it's discussing what is reality. Is reality real? Are people actors or are they actual people? Kind of the distrust and the thoughts that maybe I am a main character and everything is made up. And so if that is your jam and you are looking for something kind of that taps into that, then I would definitely recommend Time Out of Joint. It definitely changes gears and it ends differently than The Truman Show, but there are a lot of really similar parallels. So if you're looking into kind of the bending of reality, what is reality, then this is one that I would definitely recommend that you pick up and give a try. Next, I have one that is a recommendation specifically for my mom. This is for people who like Knives Out. So if you're someone who likes Knives Out, then what I would recommend is picking up The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. This is absolutely kind of the twisted, turned whodunit. And I also just think that Benoit Blanc is Hercule Poirot, just in a different font.
Enter Benoit Blanc.
Specifically, The Murder of Roger Ackroyd, I thought was really, really good. And so if you are someone who you like Knives Out and you want kind of a twisted, turny, whodunit with kind of this strange, put the pieces together detective, then definitely would recommend The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. Okay, moving into a recommendation for some of my anime fans. If you are someone who really, really liked Death Note and you are looking for something in a similar vein, then I would recommend Vicious by V.E. Schwab. Both of these stories have kind of these two main male characters who are rivals, who are kind of very equally matched, and that just have this really palpable tension where you're just like, oh my gosh, just kiss.
Just kiss!
This is absolutely those same vibes. So if your favorite part of Death Note is kind of L and Light's tension and the back and forth cat and mouse game, then I would definitely recommend that you give Vicious by V.E. Schwab a try, because it is a book that kind of captured that feeling for me and just bottled it up and put it in a book form. And so definitely, if that was your favorite part of Death Note, then you should try Vicious. I think you would like it. Dipping into kind of a movie that I watched back when I was in high school, I have the movie Contagion. If you are interested in Contagion, if you liked kind of piecing the puzzles together for kind of a disease and seeing how it came about and how it affected the world, then I would recommend that you pick up How High We Go in the Dark. This story is also the life cycle of a disease. You are in various different chapters, is kind of different pockets, and so there are time jumps. It is more sci-fi than Contagion, but if kind of the piecing together of how people interact in the face of a disease and what caused the disease and the life cycle of it is kind of something that you enjoy in media from movies like Contagion, then I would recommend How High We Go in the Dark. This one it's definitely sad, so know what you're getting into when you get into it, if this is one that you pick up. Next is a book that I feel like I've talked about quite a bit recently, and I'm going to keep talking about it because I feel like it deserves a lot more hype. Is if you are someone who liked Bridgerton, then I would recommend Half a Soul. This is a story that is very much a historical fantasy that's set in the Regency time period and is just a really, really pretty love story with really, really compelling characters. So if you want kind of a fairy Bridgerton, then I would recommend Half a Soul, especially if it's one that's going to kind of keep you tided over until the next season that comes out. Then definitely this is one that I would pick up. I think that if you like Bridgerton, then this is one that you would also enjoy. Just kind of swoon-worthy romance and just a really good time set in the Regency time period. If you are looking for books that feel like Midsommar, if Midsommar is your jam and you want, honestly, a summer horror that is going to kind of tap into the same kind of feeling that you get when watching Midsommar, then I have two recommendations for you depending on your vibe. So if you want kind of a colorful psychedelic horror that feels like what happens when you take too much melatonin and then you dream, but it's science fiction, then I'm going to recommend Annihilation. This is a fantastic book. I think it is perfect for the summertime, and it is just a creepy tale of scientists going into, it's a group of female scientists going into this place called Area X that no one has come out and survived. And so all the weird, strange kind of psychedelic horror that happens in this Area X, definitely would recommend Annihilation. It is science fiction, but even if you're not interested in science fiction, would highly recommend this one. It's short and it gives you kind of that same creepy dream world that I felt when watching Midsommar. So if that's something that you want this summertime, then I would recommend picking up Annihilation. And then I have already mentioned this one before, but if you want that same feeling of that psychedelic horror, kind of the terrifying dreams that you have when you had too much melatonin, but make it medieval, then I would recommend The Starving Saints. Again, this kind of gives me that same dreamlike quality and just beautiful imagery that Midsommar is known for. And again, this feels like, in my mind, a bit of a summertime book, but this is for the people who like historical fiction, for the people who are really interested in medieval sieges and kind of the is it magic, is it reality? It's very, very interesting, and so I will talk about this book until I'm blue in the face. This is one of my favorites, and this is definitely the book for you if you're interested in kind of weird girl, horrifying, dream-like, beautiful imagery that you get in Midsommar. I think that this kind of captures it really well. So would recommend this one if you want a book that kind of is Midsommar with a medieval twist. Alrighty, and then my last one is for a new TV show that I actually have not finished. I'm almost done with it, and we abandoned it, and I don't really know why. But if you are interested in Pluribus, then I would recommend that you pick up Ninth Reign. Both of these media are things that have to do with kind of alien invasions with kind of a hive mind alien, and are they already among us, or have they kind of yet to come about? I feel like both of these are, they're very different, but they have kind of that parallel with the hive mind alien, dark foreboding, people who are willing to give in to the aliens and people who are willing to kind of fight against them. This book is kind of a blend of science fiction and fantasy. It feels very fantasy, but then it's the alien invasion science fiction. And so I know that Pluribus is more of a just alien invasion story, or I don't know if it's really alien invasion, but it's kind of along that realm. So there is kind of a difference there. But if you liked kind of the interactions and the foreboding of what is going to happen, how are we going to stop it, the tension between characters who kind of give in and are going to turn themselves over to the hive mind versus the tension of characters who are going to fight against it tooth and nail, even though it feels like an uphill battle. If that's the part that really drew you into Pluribus, then I would recommend this series. The first one is Ninth Reign. It's a trilogy, but definitely kind of captures that same vibe. So if you really liked Pluribus and you're looking for your next fix while you wait to see if we get a season 2, then I would recommend checking out this trilogy.
So terrible. All the death and destruction you witnessed tonight.
Alrighty, and there you have it. Those are my recommendations for books that capture certain aspects of a TV show or a movie. Again, just because a book was on this list does not mean that it was like a 5-star read for me, as well as just because a TV show or movie was on this list does not mean it was my favorite TV show or movie. But I think that recommendations are so fluid, and I think quite a bit of YouTube and BookTube specifically, it's a little bit like you are just trying to get people on a bandwagon of books that you really, really liked. But I don't really feel like that's true to recommendations. I think that in real life, book recommendations are kind of a give and take of what kinds of things that you personally enjoy. And just because it's something that I personally enjoy does not mean that it was something that I would recommend for you. And so hopefully this video is just a little bit of a jumping off point for you if you're looking for a recommendation based off of things that you already enjoy and books that kind of capture that feeling. So hopefully this is helpful. Let me know in the comments below if this is the kind of thing that you like. Maybe I will go ahead and make some other videos like this in the future of books that feel like certain aspects of other things, so that way you can kind of pick and choose things that you might want to try based on things that you already enjoy. So hopefully this is helpful. Let me know if you have any other recommendations for books based off of the movies and TV shows that I've listed, and let me know in the comments as well if there is movie or show that you really, really like and that you are interested in a potential book recommendation based off of those ones, if there's ones that I've missed. I hope that you have a fantastic rest of your day and happy reading.